Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and in this classic review, we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe A Real American Hero Wild Weasel. Now, this is not my original Wild Weasel. I have to give a big shout out to Aaron, the toy enhancer, who hooked me up with this guy. Technically, Aaron didn't hook me up with this guy. I still have my original Wild Weasel. He's just in the cockpit of the Night Raven. But Aaron sent me this when he hooked me up with that thing right there. And a big shout out to that. And if you're going, well, wait a minute, wait, where's that? Don't worry. The Rattler comes after Wild Weasel. But we're going to take a look at this guy. This is the commander of the Cobra Air Force. And you got to have one guy. So this is not an army builder. I guess technically, if you want to be an army builder, you can make him and call him something else. I don't really care. But we're going to take a look at him, look at all the detail that he has on it, what this actual G.I. Joe team took into consideration when they were designing this. So let's take a look at this. Tell me if you had this. I feel like the Rattler was one of those main vehicles that so many people had, but due to certain parts of it kind of not working properly, the landing gear, things broke off, and there's not a lot of complete ones. That's why it's so expensive. But tell me if you had this. Maybe you traded. Maybe you had this guy, and your cousin had the Strato Viper, and he wanted this, and you traded him. I don't know. Just give me a story if you have one. Tell me if you remember getting this for Christmas, whatever. But I think you've wasted enough time looking at me and hearing me ramble on about this. So let's take a look at the actual figure. But before we do, if you like this type of content, you like these classic reviews going back in time, take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. All right, here we have our Wild Weasel. So we're going to take a look at this. He has no weapons, so it should be a fairly quick one, but he's got some nice detail to him. So quickly, we'll look at this head sculpt, and I did mention it is a very large head, but again, this is a helmet that we need to use to protect him, right? So you got the nice blacked out goggles right there. You got the nose piece that's kind of sitting in there. I would assume that it's supposed to feed some sort of oxygen into it. There's probably supposed to be hoses, but once again, this was beyond the days when they started doing that type of stuff. Underneath it, he's got a nice little shirt there. He's got the collar that kind of wraps completely around him. And here you can see this chest protection, and it's going to connect right across there. So you're looking here, it has this clasps right there. And it looks like he could connect a parachute to it if need be. You got some pouches right up here. You got the Cobra logo right on that hand, and then you can see all the wrinkles running all the way down into his fighter gloves. Because you got to be careful, right? Don't really want to ruin that. Here he has the nice belt, and it's like a two-part belt. And when you look at that, you can see exactly where the belt buckles are. You can see the loops underneath it. So it's meant to stay in position. Little pouch right there, and it wraps completely around, and you got some nice detail onto it. On the side, you got his sidearm along with his pistol. Right here, you have maps. All right, I'm going to look at those in 1 second, but here you can see that these are actually connected to them. So it wraps around here. So it's actually connected to him, and it's on both sides. You can even see the little hook right there that's supposed to hold it on. Now, it's not on the top, but that's a whole other story. You get down to the bottom, we have the nice little knife on his leg, and then this is meant to cover over because you don't want it to interfere. On the inside, you can see exactly where the flight suit zips up. So it's going to wrap around those boots, which look pretty good. Now, what you're looking at here are maps. Now, I never realized this as a kid because I never really paid attention. I knew there were some white things there. Flip them upside down, and here is a map that he is reading, and here's another map. And you're wondering, why did you flip them upside down? And that is because if he's sitting like this when he looks down, unfortunately he can't look down yet, that's how he's going to read the map. You wouldn't want it the other way around. All right? So from here, when they're sitting down and they're reading, those are maps. And they can flip through them if there's different maps on it. I don't know enough about being a pilot. It was something that we kind of learned when the Rattler came out and people complained that the maps were not in the right direction. All right, as for the articulation on this figure, his head can look side to side. He can get the perfect T-pose, like every O-ring. Swivels at the shoulder, gets a 90-degree elbow bend, and has swivel arm battle grip right there. Got the O-ring so he can turn back and forth. You can kind of pull them apart. There's your O-ring. There's his Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's not the greatest, but what you were worried about is that L pose right there, because we want to fit him in this thing. Knees bend 90 degree, and that's pretty much all you get when it comes to the O-ring. I think we all know what the articulation is. Eventually maybe I'll stop going over it, or I won't, or maybe sometimes I'll miss it. So there you go. That is your Wild Weasel. Let me know if you had this guy, because if you had him, you probably had this. All right, so there you are. That is the classic review of Wild Weasel, the commander of the Cobra Air Force. This guy was always pretty cool. He has a big, giant head, but it is supposed to be a helmet, so I can get over that way more than I can, let's say, CoverGirl, or Lady J, or Cross Country. They just had giant melons. This is a helmet. It's got to go overhead. I can deal with that. But anyway, I absolutely love these guys. I love the Rattler that you'll see next after this. But tell me, did you have this? Were you able to acquire this? Maybe you never had this, and as an adult, you finally got it. Maybe your wife saw you looking at this, and you were like, you know what? He wants it. I'm going to go back to Sergeant Red's, and I'm going to pick it up. I use Sergeant Red's because they're local. Anyway, I've wasted enough of your time. You've stayed this long, and I do appreciate it. So please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. Now, before you go anywhere, you're like, hey, I need a little more. And you're right. Right up here, I'm going to drop another link to another classic review, and down here will be the playlist of all the O-ring figures that I've done. Take care.